Hey guys, so this right here, this is not my prediction, but this was the electoral map that we were working with coming into this election based off of the polls. The pollsters told us that this would be the 2020 electoral map, and for anyone who has watched the election, this is definitely not how things, happened. So today I want to take a look at just how wrong the polls for this election was, and I think these are some pretty shocking numbers. I mean, literally every single state was wrong according to the pollsters. So before we get started, make sure you join my Discord server if you have not. The link will be at the very top of the description below. I've also launched a new channel. Make sure you subscribe to that. That really helped me out. It's for, just other types of videos that aren't strictly political related or politics related. So make sure to subscribe to that. I'll get content out there very soon. That would really help me out. So basically, this is the this was the 2020 electoral map that we were working with. The pollsters told us this would be the map, and obviously they were completely wrong. So the solid states, they were all right about all of these solid states. So basically, I've plotted out all the solid states on this new electoral map here, and I want to take a look at how, the polls compared to the actual results, if they shifted to the right or if they shifted to the left. And I'll tell you right now, there's going to be like one state that has shifted to the left based off of the polls. So basically, the dark red, that will be a shift of more than 3%. A light red will be a shift of less than 3%. I'm just going to use two colors basically if it was a profound shift or not. So a minor shift and a major shift. So basically, the first state I'm going to take a look at is the state of Nevada. This was a state that the Democrats or Joe Biden were expected to win by a margin of 5.3%. If we're to take a look at the actual results, you would know that this is definitely not how things went. The state of Nevada, almost all the results are in. Joe Biden currently leads by 2.7%. So that is a shift of 2.6% to the right. Now that's expected. I mean, that type of shift, it is within the margin of error, so I'll let that one go for the state of Nevada. The state of Arizona, this was a state 11 electoral votes. It was expected to go to Joe Biden by a margin of 2.6%, as you can see right there. And these numbers are pretty consistent throughout the entire election cycle, which means the pollsters were incorrect throughout the entire election cycle. There's not a single point in time where the polling average was what it is right now according to the actual results, which is Joe Biden plus 0.5%. That is a 2.1 shift to the left, and that's all right. Of course, pollsters don't get it 100% right. So I'll let that one go. That is okay, I guess. The states of Colorado and New Mexico. This is the only state that I'm pretty sure shifted to the left, and that's the state of Colorado. This state shifted to the left by a margin of 0.7%. The polling was 12.5% in favor of Biden and ended up being 13.2%. New Mexico, it shifted to the right by 1.1%. It was expected to be around 12% and ended up being around 10% in New Mexico. So Joe Biden actually did better in Colorado than he did in New Mexico, which I think is pretty surprising. Now I'm going to take a look at all of these other likely Republican states like Montana, Utah, and Kansas. These states were expected to be likely. I'll take a look at them at the very end. So just taking a look at the battleground states first. And so next, the state of Texas, 38 electoral votes. Donald Trump was expected to win this state by a margin of just 1.1% according to the final polls. Joe Biden actually caught up to Donald Trump at one point in October right there, but Biden never actually took the lead there. But Donald Trump, 1.1% on election night, he was expected to win by that much. But when things played out in the very end, Donald Trump is going to win this state by a margin of 5.9%. So Joe Biden has been able to break that 6% barrier under Donald Trump. This state shifted to the right by a margin of 4.8%. Now, this actually caught me by surprise because I did expect that Donald Trump would do a little bit worse just because the turnout was so high. And I mean, the turnout was definitely a lot more Democrats came out for Joe Biden than Hillary Clinton. But the problem was a lot more Republicans came out for Donald Trump than they did in 2016. So really, it was a mutual increase in numbers. It was still a net increase for the Democrats. However, it was still not enough for them to flip this state not having gone to a Democrat since 1976. The state of Minnesota, this is another state. This state was a little bit better, I guess. Joe Biden was expected to win this state by a margin of 9.2%, I believe, right here. As you can see, yep, 9.2%. The margin here was a little bit closer. It was around a margin of 7%, 7.3%. So the numbers in Minnesota, they were all right. It was still a shift to the right by around 2%. So that will go into the minor shift column for Donald Trump. This is followed by the state of Iowa, a state that Donald Trump was expected to win by just 1.3%. Last time, Trump was leading here by around 3% over Hillary Clinton. He won it by 9%. Now, the pollsters got it, wrong even more. Joe Biden was leading in this state coming into the month of November, but Trump took the lead. He led by 1.3%, and he won the state by 8.2%. That is more of a shift to the right than in 2016, and that was a huge shift to the right in 2016. So the polls right now, they were horrible in Iowa. Absolutely terrible. This was basically a 6.9% shift to the right compared to the polls. So that is not good. This is followed by the state of Wisconsin. That's 10 electoral votes. Biden was expected to win this state by a whole 8.4%. He was at 52% of the vote. According to the actual results right here, Joe Biden didn't even win 50%. He won the state of Wisconsin by a margin of 0.7% as of right now. He's still going to win the state. A recount is not going to give Donald Trump the lead here. They will do a recount, but it's not going to change anything. So this was a whopping 7.7% shift to the right. So look at all these dark red. I mean, these dark red states, they're basically out of the margin of error. So the polls got it wrong. It wasn't that, there wasn't, some sort of uncertainty, based on how much it can fluctuate between Biden and Trump, but they were absolutely just wrong. The state of Michigan, 16 electoral votes, going to move on to the blue wall that Biden was able to flip, but Joe Biden was expected to win Michigan by a margin of 7.9%. In reality, he won the state of Michigan by a margin of 2.6%. Still a huge shift from 2016 by around 3%. However, it was nowhere near what we expected for the former vice president, now the president-elect of the United States in the state of Michigan. So that is going to be another huge shift to the right, a margin of 5.3% in favor of the current president of the United States. This is followed by the state of Pennsylvania, expected to go to Joe Biden by a margin of 4.7%. This state ended up going to Joe Biden by just a margin of 0.7%, which is basically mirroring Trump's margin over Hillary Clinton in the state of Pennsylvania from 2016. But as you can see, in the state of Pennsylvania, the results were not so favorable towards Joe Biden. It was just a margin of 0.7%, which means that the polling compared to the actual results was a shift of 4 points in favor of the president of the United States. So that's going to be another huge shift to the right. So as you can see, basically all of the Rust Belt was wrong. All of these key states in the blue wall. The state of Ohio, this one was even more wrong. I mean, this was expected to go to Donald Trump by just 0.8%. Joe Biden was leading here for much of October, but I mean, these numbers were just so off. I mean, Donald Trump won this state by a margin of 7.9%, a 7.1% shift to the right in the state of Ohio. So that is going to be another major shift in the favor of President Trump. We also have the state of New Hampshire. This state was expected to go to Joe Biden by a margin of 11.1%. That did not happen. It was all right, I guess, but Joe Biden really only up winning this state by a margin of 7.3%, a 3.8% shift to the right. So although this margin was much better than Clinton's in 2016, it will still go in this shift right column. We also have the state of North Carolina, 15 electoral votes. Joe Biden was expected to win this state by a margin of 1.8%. And although he can still technically win this state, he probably is not, in my opinion, but definitely he can get to that 321 electoral votes, but North Carolina went to Donald Trump by 1.3%. There's still more ballots out. There may be a recount in this state, so we'll see. But the recount isn't going to change anything if Donald Trump leads by over, 0.2%. So the state of North Carolina, that is going to be a shift to the right of 3.1%. So that's going to be a pretty major shift. I mean, North Carolina, I thought would go to Joe Biden over the state of Georgia. That really did surprise me. The state of Georgia, not the state of North Carolina, is going to go to Joe Biden. As you can see right now, Joe Biden is up by a margin of 0.2% in the state of Georgia. It was expected to go to Joe Biden, 1.2%. So this is really the only solid Trump state in 2016, or one of the more solid Trump states, I guess, that the pollsters actually got right. However, it's still a 1% shift to the right. All of these other Trump states in 2016, Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Texas, they were all completely wrong, just so far off of what the actual numbers were. The state of Florida, 29 electoral votes, Joe Biden was expected to win by a margin of 2.5%. In the end, Trump won this state. I forgot if I said Trump or Biden. Biden was expected to win by 2.5%. Donald Trump ended up winning this state by a margin of 3.4%. Joe Biden did pretty well here. I mean, honestly, in most of these counties, Palm Beach, Broward County, except for Miami-Dade, where a majority or a huge chunk of the population of Florida is, if Biden won Miami-Dade by the same margin that, Clinton did in 2016, he probably would have won the state of Florida, but 53%, that is just not good enough for the former vice president. I mean, this was a state that was, or this county was pretty strong for Clinton. Joe Biden did not have that Cuban support, and I think that having to do with socialism with the left, now being branded as socialist, I think that definitely did have an effect on this. But Joe Biden was able to flip, Duval County, where Jacksonville is, as well as Pinellas County surrounding the Tampa area. So he did all right, but still not as good as we expected. This was a shift of 5.9% to the right. So many, just every single state shifted to the right, with the exception of the state of Colorado. Now we have these remaining states. The state of Virginia, this was expected to be around a 10% margin for the Democratic Party, and that was basically what the margin was. I don't have the state of Virginia opened up right now, but we can take a look at what the numbers in Virginia were. If I can find it, it was expected to be a margin of 11.8%. So yes, it was another shift to the right. These numbers were just so far off. Even these solid states, they were so far off. They were expected to be so close. South Dakota was a 15-point margin in favor of Donald Trump. It ended up going to him by, look at that, 26%. That was 11% off by the pollsters. So I'm not even going to look at these solid states. They were just so far off. But the remaining states, these states were not expected to be solid for Donald Trump. As you can see, taking a look at all of these states, you have South Carolina, Indiana, Missouri, Kansas, Utah, Montana, as well as Alaska. These states were not expected to be solid. South Dakota, I'm actually going to make a characterization for this no, this was expected to be solid. I don't know. I got this wrong on the map here. It was expected to be solid. On this map, it's going to be solid. So basically, I'm going to fill in these other states based on just how much they shifted to the right. Montana was expected to be a 4.4% margin for Trump. It ended up being 16%. That's a huge shift to the right. The state of Utah as well, around 10%, ended up going to Donald Trump. He won 58% of the vote. That is 21%. Kansas and Missouri, they were 15% margin, so barely a solid margin. It was expected to be likely, but it was barely a solid margin. So the numbers here were still not good for President Trump. The state of Maine, as well as Nebraska, basically the at-large vote, as well as the first district vote, shifted to the right, while the second district was actually pretty favorable for Joe Biden. He won the second district by around 7%, which is actually, I would put that as a shift to the left. The polling data was not as favorable for Joe Biden as the results were. The state of Indiana was expected to be around a 9% margin, not even hitting 10%. It ended up being 19%. Basically the same margin as it was. Well, 17% now as you have more votes in, but 16% now. Actually, I don't know why I said 19. It was 19 a couple days ago, but now it is back to 16.1%, which is still a shift from 2016 to the left, but compared to the polls, it was definitely a huge shift to the right. The state of South Carolina, that is 9 electoral votes. Lindsey Graham did very, very well in this race against Jamie Harrison, who basically earned the most money in a single month ever from South Carolina. That was impressive, but he was not able to win. He lost by around 10, 11 points. Donald Trump was able to do even better here in the state of South Carolina. He won by 12%. He was expected to win by, we could take the numbers ourselves, but it was not too good of a margin. I believe it was around just 7% for South Carolina. If you take a look, well, it was, 7.1%. That was the expected margin. It ended up being, 12%. So that's another huge shift to the right. And then we also have the state of Maine. Let me just fill in Maine. The at-large vote was definitely a shift to the right as well. It was expected to be almost solid. However, it was a margin of just around 10%. The second district, if you were to take a look at the results out of the second district of Maine, this is 6% margin. That's a pretty minor shift to the right, so that's going to be in that lighter column as a minor shift. Finally, the state of Alaska, it was expected to be basically barely a likely margin for President Trump, as you can see 7.7%. Right now, only 61% of results in, but I don't see it becoming anything but a solid state or a very close solid state, but it's not going to be 7% in favor of Trump. It's going to be a lot more than that, so I'm going to put that in the solid shift right column. So basically, as you can see, almost every single state that we've categorized, so every single non-solid state that is basically, that was a key state, I guess, or also, states that weren't exactly the most solid for Trump, all of them shifted to the right. You saw all of the Rust Belt, all of the Midwest shift to the right, all of the Southeast shift to the right. You saw New Hampshire shift to the right by quite a bit. Texas, a huge shift. All of these states that are not expected to be solid for President Trump shifted to the right and became solid states. Arizona and Nevada shifted to the right. New Mexico shifted to the right according to the polls. And the only two areas where they weren't were the states of Nebraska, the 2nd District of Nebraska, as well as the state of Colorado. So really very disappointing for pollsters. I don't know what they're going to do in 2024. They were pretty far off in 2016. However, a lot of them were within the margin of error. But this time, they were not. They're definitely just wrong. I mean, just look at Wisconsin and Michigan. 8% margins, really? They ended up being less than 3%. I mean, Michigan was 2%. Wisconsin, not even 1%. So I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, they can say that they're going to do better, but I mean, we'll see in 2024 based on the results. But definitely a huge factor may just be that, Trump voters, they didn't expect that huge turnout for the Trump voters. There's definitely something wrong with the ideology of the pollsters. So we have 271 electoral votes. That is literally enough to win the presidency. 271 electoral votes worth of states that shifted to the right by any sort of margin, and just based off of these key states. These solid states, they were pretty on point in terms of the margins, but definitely nowhere near good. Only Colorado and the 2nd District of Nebraska actually went in favor of Joe Biden. So that'll be it for this video. I hope you guys found this pretty informative. I think it's pretty interesting to take a look at how the polls are wrong this time. Last time they're pretty infamously incorrect. However, they really were only messed up in the state of Wisconsin. This time it is a lot more states. So thank you guys all so much for watching this video. Make sure you join my Discord server if you have not. Also subscribe to my new channel. I would really appreciate that. Really appreciate all of your support. So yeah, like, comment, and subscribe. And if you guys want to see the electoral map, once again, this was what was expected, and this was what really happened with all those huge shifts to the right. So thank you guys all so much for watching this video. I think I already said that, but like, comment, subscribe, and I will see all of you guys in the next video.